That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And there's no fucking Mars bar down there. But there is a 10th anniversary of a beloved movie. That wasn't a forced pun at all. Welcome to the Whiplash 10th anniversary retrospective podcast. Yes, that's right. So, Dragon, I don't remember if I said this off air or on air, but I'm pretty sure I told you this recently just to kind of get my feelings about this little motion picture. I don't know why. God, I've got Penguin on the mind. Hey, Mom, I'm going to see this movie called Whiplash.
Tiki, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you dragging this podcast? Or are you rushing this podcast?
I think I'm dragging it right now. Okay, so obviously, Dragon, I'm just going to come out and say it. This is my absolute number one movie of the 2010s. I know that at the end of the decade, we did the top 100 list. I'm pretty sure this ended up in the top 10. But I got to tell you, man, after a couple more rewatches and just marinating on it for another half a decade, I think this movie ages like fine wine. I think the themes of it are just absolutely eternal. I think this movie is a goddamn masterpiece, and I can't wait to get into it. In light of all the Fletcherisms, which I'm sure we'll bring up, I think this movie is just an absolute powerhouse. Genuinely, I mean, you know how I feel about endings, Dragon. And between this and La La Land, honestly, it's tough. I on any given day, I go back and forth. They're two of the best endings of all time, in my opinion. But I mean, this is just, I don't even know what to say, man. Let's just dive into it. What's your thesis on Whiplash?
So, 2014, obviously a strong year.
Very strong year. Yes.
This was like the strong Oscar movie of 2024. Without
that
question.
And Birdman.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that Birdman. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Yeah, Birdman was the big competition for this. Okay, so the point being, you had two really strong Oscar movies in 2014. But the point being, the one we're here to talk about today. This was. When I think of Whiplash, I ultimately just think of this was the industry finally starting to wake up and see that J.K. Simmons was so much more than J. Jonah Jameson or the neo-Nazi guy from Oz.
Yes, I mean, this role very much leans more into the latter, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but you see what I mean. It just shows you everyone that kind of oh yeah, J.K. Simmons, he's either that or that. But in our circles, we knew him for so much more. I mean, for me, a Biggie, Korra, from Legend of Korra, he was Tenzin from Legend of Korra. He did an excellent job there. It was a really well layered performance, and of course, his other roles beyond that. Of course, for you, I'm sure Juno was a Biggie.
Dragon, I'm not the biggest Juno fan. I'm really not. He was probably the best part of it, but
that's what I meant. I liked him in Juno a lot.
Right. I mean, I've been over this before. I can't stand the writing in Juno. The writing in Juno is so fucking smug. Oh, I'm talking to you on my hamburger phone. Yes, Juno, thanks for pointing out that the prop is quirky. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Okay, you take my point though, right? Just the fact that J.K. Simmons
I have a bone to pick with Juno a little bit. I'm not
gonna lie. Okay, well, still though, I'm just saying until that time, Juno was an example of J.K. Simmons starting to get on people's radar, but it wasn't quite there yet. And we know J.K. Simmons, and we love J.K. Simmons.
I need to look this up, but I'm pretty sure he did get an Oscar nomination for Juno.
Probably. That's what I'm saying. I think he actually won for Whiplash, though, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It was finally everyone realizing, oh my god, this guy who keeps popping up in the things that we like, he's really good. We should give him some more meaty roles like that to show how good he is. And of course, post this, you had Klaus, and we have so many other
ones. He was nominated for Juno.
So that was always the big victory with this movie, that J.K. Simmons was finally realized for the powerhouse of talent that we all knew that he was. And this movie, looking back on it 10 years later, it's a tightly paced film about the perils of pushing your craft in pursuit of perfectionism. it's a cautionary tale without a clear-cut moral, which is really interesting. It's like it is absolutely a cautionary tale. Like, beware the pursuit. But what is it saying about, like, should we not take this path? Well, we're not going to weigh in on that. It's like it's for you to decide. Like, were the right decisions made? Were they not made? Is it all worth it at the end? Again, ambiguity at its finest. This was,
yeah, I definitely have. I've had different reactions to that ending over the years for sure, and I think the fact that my perception of the ending keeps shifting is part of the reason why this just keeps getting better and better for me.
It's the mark of a good film. There's rewatchability. There's reevaluation. It's entertaining. It's Chazelle.
You took the folder, Dragon.
Yeah. So Chazelle, he made a big splash with this film. I think the reason for it, and I think honestly, nothing against Chazelle's later works, but I mean, when you go back to Whiplash is just kind of perfect. It was like it's driven by character. It's got a very direct story to it. It's very concentrated in that regard. So it is very much, it's like, we're using every part of the buffalo to quote. Well, we kind of have to in this case. It's the big anniversary year for The Incredibles. We should, we should work it in a little bit.
Take a shot every time Dragon says using every part of the buffalo. All right, I'm sorry. I don't mean to pick on you. I'm sorry. It's all good.
Anyway, but you see what I mean, though. It's like, we're not wasting anything, and it is there's something really pure and just it's kind of energized about this film. You look back, it's very narratively strong, and it's like, it's kind of built for analyses, one could say.
I mean, I one of the things I wanted to bring up is I feel like one of the things that kind of I wasn't thrilled with on first watch, and by the way, I did not know this actress played Supergirl. That's cool.
You didn't know that?
Oh, I didn't. No.
Yeah, it's her.
Yeah. Is that character, Dragon, on first watch, my initial reaction to that character is like, okay, it's just like she's just a love interest just to have a love interest, and she's very, very shallow as a character. And looking back on it now, I have an entirely different perception on it because, like, I feel like, yeah, the point is obviously that he has a very shallow view of what he wants out of this person that is very quickly, like dried up. Like the point is that the character is basically a non-entity in his life until he kind of needs that sort of companionship. So that's another, like, I mean, honestly, when I was the first time I saw this, I thought the ending was like a little too triumphant. And nowadays, I do not view the ending as triumphant at all, which I'm sure we'll get into. It's like, there's so many kind of shifting perceptions about this movie just from my own personal experience with it.
All right.
Okay, we will get into the background. I'm just going to shout out some comments. Theme Park Priest saying, mostly popping in to say hi. I've only seen it once on a plane. Not the ideal way to see this movie. This is not an airplane movie, Dragon, right?
I mean, unless you want, like, to really white knuckle the flight. No.
I mean, I'm saying, like I mentioned on the last memoirs. I think Wolves with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. That's an airplane.
Absolutely movie. An airplane.
I look at that. I look at that movie and I'm like, that is absolutely a movie I would watch on an airplane.
But you know what the best airplane film is, though?
What?
Airplane.
Sure.
Seriously, wouldn't that be a great, like, option to have just on every flight you could watch Airplane?
Just on every flight, just
yeah. I mean, why not?
It's not a great movie at all. But this year, I feel like, oh god, Unfrosted. That was my airplane movie for Vegas.
All right.
Anyways. Okay, we got Kogios saying it was ambitious to give Iron Man's worst villain his own film. Oh, Whiplash, yeah. That's funny.
No, there's a version of this movie to see, the Mickey Rourke version, where we recast J.K. Simmons.
I'm not going to lie, when I first heard about this movie, because, like, much like most, like, big Oscar movies, I first heard about it through just, like, awards buzz. And all I knew was it was J.K. Simmons drumming, and Whiplash was the title. I was like, like, I'm not gonna lie, Mickey Rourke was definitely the first thing I thought of when I heard that title. I knew it wasn't going to be about that character, but all right. Kogia says Whiplash came out the year before Fantastic Four. I guess that means Reed Richards took music lessons before going to space. All right, Kogias. Yes,
he took him very seriously.
Indeed. Yes. Oh man. Okay, Dragon. So let me regale you with some background. Alrighty. Give me 1 second. Let me pull.
Now, Tiki, you will be graded on this. Okay.
Oh dear.
I'm going to tell you if you're rushing your dragon, so you know.
Oh God. Take a shot every time we mention rushing and dragging. All right. By the way, Dragon,
down the whole bottle if we say it in a funny accent.
Do you want to mention, like, I feel like most, if not everybody watching right now probably does not remember the in-joke we had about rushing and dragging back in the day. So
it is about 10 years old, so we should talk about it.
What?
It is about 10 years old, so we should talk about it.
Okay, you want to cue it up?
Okay, folks. So I don't know if anyone recalls this. There was an episode of.
But do you recall the most obscure in-joke of all?
Yeah, from Christmas in July.
Mm-hmm.
So Christmas in July, we like to sometimes look at the the obscure and sometimes the not so obscure. And we talked about the Christmas episode of I Love Lucy, which is barely a Christmas episode. It's really a clip show with a Christmassy framing device.
Yes.
And essentially, little Ricky gets a drum set, and this guy over here was so kind of revved up on Whiplash, he couldn't resist but make a joke about rushing or dragging, and we just kind of made a meal out of it.
Little Ricky, are you rushing or are you dragging?
Babaloo, are you rushing or are you dragging?
Do you remember the rushing and dragging reference I managed to work into the fucking Disneyland special?
God, I
okay,
it was anytime we had drums,
was,
worked it in.
It was like, I think it was out front of the castle, and there were like a bunch of carolers, and then Santa was also there, and they were like literally like ringing bells to the tune of a Christmas carol, and I was like, in Walt Disney's voice, I was like, "Now Santa, are you rushing or are you dragging?"
There, I remember it now. Yep.
All right, good times.
Yep.
Okay, we also got Teddy in the chat just saying, "Great movie." Indeed.
So all the time we would keep coining, kind of a Ricky Ricardo. Are you rushing or are you dragging?
For a time, yes.
For a time, yes.
Dragon, I feel like it's high time we do, like, I know I've thrown this out before, but I feel like it's high time we do a retrospective on all our old in-jokes. Who's B?
I would say it's self-indulgent, but
Us self-indulgent? Never.
Yeah, it's not like we have some stupid award show called the Golden Tiki. What kind of moron would come up with that?
You legitimately do not know how much work Peregron and I are putting into that.
Well, apparently not in the title. Put our work in every other facet but the title. The Golden Tikis, God.
Teddy says JK in this movie would scare the shit out of JK's J. Choda Jameson. Indeed he would. That would be a really fun sketch. Who's the leader of this newspaper? Tell me it's not you, Elmer Fudd. All right, anyways. Okay, Dragon. So, background on this thing. Damien Chazelle in high school. Get this, Dragon. You'll never guess. He was a band kid.
Kid, I don't believe you for a second, Tiki. You're putting me on.
I know, right?
You fibby boy.
Shocking revelation.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he was in a very, very competitive studio dance class, and he had a conductor who he definitely pushed it further. That's his own words, pushed it further with Terrence Fletcher. But this band leader was very much the inspiration for the character. And essentially, Dragon, this movie, the inspiration for this movie got made essentially as like a product of frustration, because he was shopping around La La Land. La La Land was the movie he really wanted to make. And through the through the feelings of getting rejected, he kind of, the feelings of anxiety and self-loathing that this freaking band teacher, this conductor, had put on him in high school that kind of started to bubble to the surface a little bit. And in response to that, he wrote a treatment for Whiplash. Now, in order to get the film funded, he went ahead and adapted 15 pages of the script into a short film. Dragon, I trust you've watched the short film.
Of course.
Okay. Did you recognize the actor playing the Miles Teller role?
I did not recognize him. Who is that?
Would you like to know who he is?
Yeah, mildly curious, yeah.
It's another Simmons. It's Johnny Simmons.
Oh.
Young Neil from Scott Pilgrim.
Hey!
Yeah.
Wait, did Young Neil play the drums in Scott Pilgrim?
I know Kim Pine played the drums.
Oh, right. Wait, what did Young Neil do?
I'm pretty sure he just he played Legend of Zelda and Tetris.
You know, let's go back and rewrite.
No, that's literally the joke in the movie.
We should go back and rewrite it so we make him a drummer. So this little factoid makes.
Don't you dare mess with Kim Pine's shirt, sir.
I'm not messing with Kim Pines. I'm just.
She's my favorite character in that whole universe. Don't you touch her. I'm serious. Anyways,
all right, let her play her drums. Just make sure make sure she's on our tempo.
Oh God. Okay, so obviously J.K. Simmons in the short was a big get. The big thing from the short and the movie that I want to point out is the fact that the short was very much filmed in like an average high school classroom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in room lighting, and then in the movie when you get into the studio, it's just pure like black walls, no windows. You know, the mood, the atmosphere of that classroom setting in the movie is just very much elevated.
It's night 24/7 in that movie.
Indeed. Yeah, exactly. It pretty much is. Anyways, so the short received, I'm directly reading from Wiki here.
Oh.
No, I'm not reading everything from Wiki, but this one thing. It received acclaim after debuting at the Sundance Film Festival, winning the Short Film Jury Award for Fiction. I'm sorry, Dragon. There's some things I don't know how else to say it except just to read the Wikipedia quote. So anyways, the short film obviously gave Chazelle the motivation and the prestige, you know, with all the awards to pursue the full movie. So Miles Teller signed on in the role that Johnny Simmons originated. And essentially, Dragon, I'm going to quote Chazelle on this. He told J.K. Simmons, I want you to take it past what you think the normal limit would be. I don't want to see a human being on screen anymore. I want to see a monster, a gargoyle, an animal. I love that description of the character. Just kind of quoting directly from Wiki here. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to phrase it. The band members, a lot of the band members were actual students and like music students and musicians to kind of capture the real life anxiety. Like, you know, it's almost kind of like how Blair Witch, kind of a weird comparison, I know, but like, you know how with Blair Witch, when they filmed Blair Witch, they wanted to capture a lot of the real emotion and fear out of the actors. So that's why they had them like in the middle of the night. They didn't really know what was going to happen. It's kind of the same deal here, except the people in the band, they didn't really know what was going to happen with J.K. Simmons. They just knew that they had been in this environment before. And so you read a lot of this character just based on the body language of his students and how absolutely in command he is of them. And I feel like a lot of that is just due to the fact that the background extras, and they're not even really extras because they're throughout the whole movie, but you know, the bit parts, the bit players, they're all kind of in this actual world. They all kind of like surround the prestige music space. Yes, Teddy, Blair Witch and Whiplash are absolutely the same movie. Anyways, one last couple more tidbits here. We have the movie was shot it was shot in 19 days with a schedule of 14 hours of filming per day. And kind of mirroring the actual reality of the movie, you know, kind of like fiction meeting reality. Chazelle was actually involved in a car accident in the third week of shooting, which is kind of trippy considering the car accident is kind of like a big sort of transitional point in the story. And let's see. Also, J.K. Simmons, Dragon, he was just a teddy bear in between takes. He was just the nicest guy in between takes. And Chazelle basically equates that to the reason why the shoot didn't just go absolutely off the rails and descend into total misery. So, yeah, that's about it. Obviously, the film was a big hit, iconic. J.K. Simmons won Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards. I'm sorry. Let's see. Did it win any other awards? I know this is terrible. I'm looking it up. I don't Academy Awards. Best Editing. That is a well-deserved win. Best Editing, and then Best Sound Mixing. There we go. Best Supporting Actor, Best Editing, Best Sound Mixing. And here we are today, 10 years later, to break it down. All right, Dragon.
You know, there's one thing. You know what Chazelle's big sell line for this movie was in pitching it?
What?
Do you like jazz?
I mean, honestly, isn't that just Chazelle's sell line for all his movies?
Well, it's also how he picks up his dates, but yes. Just walks up and he basically holds up one of his movies. Says, "Do you like jazz?" It was like a guy in the '70s holding up like a record. In those cases, like, "Hey, do you like jazz? Here's some Whiplash for you." Yeah, my room number's written on the back.
Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and break it down.
So it's interesting. We open the movie in Fletcher's POV. It's kind of our introduction to Neiman. We're going down the hallway. We see him playing the drums.
I really like how the movie starts where we hear Neiman practicing, but we don't see him, and then the first shot we see of him is directly after he finishes his notes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good touch. It kind of just shows like that Fletcher is basically going to be in control of this kid the whole time. Like he walks in. This whole exchange is just. I feel like this is a really, really good movie to just show people just on the basis of this opening scene. It just captures your attention so vividly, right? Like it's almost impossible to watch this opening scene and not want to see the rest of the movie. I feel like it really triumphs in that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's kind of a scene that, like, on first glance, you don't need. It's seemingly a very cuttable scene, but I'm saying from periphery. Obviously, it's integral, but it's like from a distance, it seems like okay. Well, we're obviously going to really have a proper introduction to this Fletcher character later on, but there's something. I love the hat bit. For example, we tease the mind games this guy's going to play on this kid. The whole Well, oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Forgot my coat.
Right? Yeah, I'm sorry. He always hangs up the hat and the coat. That's what. Yeah. So forgot my coat. Like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. Okay. So we got to talk about Terrence Fletcher before we do anything here. Okay. So it's properly just kind of the overall. My Cliff Notes comparison for Terrence Fletcher is.
I have a pretty clear 1-to-1 comparison, but what's yours?
Well, mine's funnier. Evil John Williams.
Yes, absolutely.
We've seen like the friendly, good natured, jazzy Johnny Williams, who's like friends with Spielberg. He pretty much feels like if Spielberg had a friendly neighbor, it would be John Williams. Flip side of that, Terrence Fletcher, evil John Williams.
Oh my God.
Just completely evil. You know how he's evil? He's wearing like short sleeves to show off the guns. Where John Williams is always like, he's essentially kind of the kind.
He only wears black tank tops.
There you go.
His entire wardrobe is black tank tops.
Well, it's more like a t-shirt, but yeah.
Right.
But still, I'm saying John Williams he's always long sleeved.
He's
always like that, like the turtleneck or the long sleeves, feeling very non-combative.
All right, you're right.
Anyway.
Your comparison is definitely funnier, but I think my comparison, Dragon, you're gonna have to remind me if you've even seen this movie, but I definitely think that J.K. Simmons as Terrence Fletcher is very much the equivalent in the 2010s to what the 2000s gave us. I think he is like the most iconic original character of the 2010s in the same way that Daniel Day-Lewis is Daniel Plainview and There Will Be Blood was to 2007.
That sounds, I mean, given the
Or the 2000s in general.
Well, given the ability to kind of switch between, kind of easygoing to really temperamental, it sounds
You have
right,
seen
right?
There Will Be Blood, right?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Just making sure, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm just the switch definitely for sure, but also I just think the sheer like both of the performances are just absolutely towering. I feel like the characters just kind of like rise above virtually every other character that was put on film that decade. And I think they both have the fact that they're clearly not good guys, right? Like they are clearly very, very bad men. But man, they are compelling to watch, and the audience, against their better judgment, kind of wants to root for them.
Yep, Fletcher drinks the milkshake.
Yep.
Anyway, so Terrence Fletcher, he's got right from the get go, and later on, especially when we have the proper introduction, with the whole class. But just even here, honestly, even here, when he enters the classroom, that kind of pluck him out of it. There's the man walks in with the ambiance and just he presents strength. Wearing the all black and the short sleeves and just the fact that my favorite bit with him. I love the being a composer. Clearly, the hand gestures are very important to the role. Clearly. But that said, my favorite gesture that he does, and because of that, he commands all the power. And when he does like the little like fist gesture, where he basically tells him like to stop, there's like a little like stop gesture with the hand and the fist. The fact that it's like a fist, again, it also helps convey like the strength and the power and almost the god level status this guy has in this music world. Again, evil John Williams.
Definitely.
But still, I mean, again, it already kind of has this strength, but also like there's an inviting nature, which of course is like you're kind of lured into the den, and then you're trapped again per the animalistic thing that you told me about.
Drake, let me ask you this: have you ever encountered a teacher, like obviously not on the same level of sadistic, because as I already established, Giselle very much his intention with this character was to kind of go above and beyond what you would see in real life. But have you ever encountered a teacher that you would kind of like compare to with Fletcher?
Well, I don't know if I'd say like that. I mean, I've had some teachers that did me dirty, but I don't know if I.
Oh, I've had teachers that have done me. Oh my god, I've got stories about.
Well,
that.
I mean, again, I had the closest thing I have to Fletcher was I had I think it was like third grade. I think my third grade teacher.
That's terrifying.
She basically said something that Trump basically. Okay, so here's a parallel for you later on.
Okay.
Now, mind you, this is like I guess if you want to really draw the parallels, I could just kind of like pretty much connect like the A to B on this one, but. So I think ingrained in me, I have a perpetual like fear and just I really don't want to be late. Like, punctuality.
Oh man, I'm with you. I'm with you.
And
on
that stems from in the third grade, I had a teacher, and basically, showed up late because the grandparents, whatever. There's like some car trouble or something. And point being, like, there's a slight delay. You show up late, and then basically the line that like is carved in my soul like granite.
Oh dear God! Okay.
Is if you're gonna be late, don't bother showing up at all.
Oh my God!
Third grade.
Like you had any control over
exactly as if it was. As if it was an active choice, and from then on, I've always made a conceited effort not to be late.
Okay, Dragon, I'll do you one better on the late thing. I don't want to be late, but I also don't want to be the person who's popping in early either. So I will literally get to the place I need to be like 10 minutes early and just hang out. And I'm not kidding. I will literally walk in the second the fucking clock turns to the minute that I'm supposed to be there. Like I will time it out to the second. I'm I kind of have a problem with that.
So I bring it up just given how punctuality factors
No, I
into
love
this
that. I love
film.
that.
Clearly,
Yeah.
how this, both that, and then of course, for me, I have like another thing in this movie when we get to like the big Whiplash, kind of like namesake moment.
Hmm.
Well,
For
I mean,
me,
like the car
yeah.
accident thing.
I've definitely had one or two college teachers who have used the whole thing where like they're gonna they're gonna be buddy buddy with you, but only to like find stuff out about you to use to their advantage. Like,
Mm-hmm.
definitely had that a little bit. Obviously, not to the extent that Fletcher does. Like obviously, but I have had moments where I'm like, wait a minute, you just turned that around on me, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I've had a couple teachers humiliate me, so those were not some happy memories. I'll give you that.
you know what's funny is that there's one teacher in particular that I'm thinking of. Shout out to Jonathan Knox, love ya if you're watching this. But Dragon, this is a guy where literally the opinion on him was split 50-50 down the middle. You either love him or you hate him. And for the students that loved him, he was an awesome guy. He was a great teacher. You know who I kind of relate him to? Do you remember Mr. Fargus from Family Guy? Kind of a deep cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, for the people that like him, he's kind of like a Mr. Fargus type. But for the people that don't like him, Dragon, he's about as close to Terrence Fletcher as you're probably gonna get. Except he's a drama teacher instead of a music teacher, but still kind of in the same area. Yeah, I mean, he would get explosive at people.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyways.
Anyway. So, let's see. So here's something we should talk about. Bridging off of Fletcher, I think something that kind of in relation to Fletcher and Neiman here. I think the central dynamics at play in this film are the dueling father figures.
Yes, and honestly, Dragon, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. The father, like watching the father in particular, that's one of the elements that really pushed me over the edge on my most recent rewatch to be like, yeah, this is my favorite movie of the decade.
Oh, yeah, it's really good.
Because that push and pull, it's subtle, right? It's subtle.
Yeah.
It's kind of easy to miss on first watch.
So we have Jim, who is is Paul Reiser. Of course, we all love Paul Reiser.
That's just a perfect name for an average Joe, too.
Yeah. Right, so we have Jim. Paul Reiser, he's basically the loving, supportive father. He's essentially, he's a failed writer who became a teacher. That's essentially, it's essentially who he is. And that's how we kind of sum him up in the kind of the information gathering scene. The idea is being a writer and being a teacher. He supports the arts, through education mostly.
Mm-hmm.
We see later on he doesn't really have his back a lot at the dinner table, but it's like he basically allowed Andrew kind of brought a lot of that on himself though. So I don't know, it's like a fair assessment of like him like coming down on the arts. The point being though, supportive enough of the arts, and this thing he basically he represents complacency in terms of like okay, you gave your best, that's okay, he's very kind of like he settles. He's very much a settling kind of guy.
There are no words more dangerous in the English language than good job, and he embodies that.
Exactly, he embodies good job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, to the periphery, you don't think that's not a bad guy at all. It's just he's giving you the pat on the back. He's being there for you.
I mean, honestly, like I very much think he's the sympathetic one out of the two, don't you?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So we have Jim, who is the actual father, and then we have Fletcher, who is
Dragon. In other words,
the non-biological father.
Oh God. Oh boy. All right. Thank you, Red Letter Media, for that. Anyways.
So we have the father figure, a mentor, or more accurately, the tormentor.
Mm-hmm.
So Fletcher's philosophy is to, he's basically he has to be really tough, so tough. He has to basically be tough. He's tough on you to push the student to perfection. That's essentially, it's kind of growing. It's kind of a trial by fire kind of a
He
thing.
doesn't want students. He wants proteges.
Proteges.
Proteges, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so he wants proteges. He wants perfection. He's on the never-ending quest for the Charlie Parkers of the world. He wants Charlie Parker, and to make a Charlie Parker,
he actively wants a Charlie Parker to throw a chair at his head. That's like literally actively what he's aiming for.
And it's interesting too, because we do also cite, here's something in Whiplash we underwrite, but it's a cute little reference. We don't really dwell on it, but it's kind of there. Buddy Rich. I don't know if you're aware of this. Buddy Rich. Have you ever heard about the Buddy Rich tour bus tapes?
No, I have not.
Yeah, so if memory serves, I believe but I'm pretty sure it's Buddy Rich. There's these like famous tapes, like on the tour bus, he would really grill his fellow bandmates. And he would torrents and just yell at him and all sorts of stuff. So it was like this guy was there was like an explosive side to this guy, despite being kind of like the talent that he was. So there's a little bit of that. So the idea that guy really pushed himself to be the top of his game.
Mm-hmm.
So Buddy Rich again being basically, he was like, when Fletcher's like complimenting, oh look, we got Buddy Rich here, isn't that cute? We have that, so again it's like, oh look, he's Buddy Rich, and then we kind of use like a Buddy Rich methodology of like chair throwing and stuff to get a Charlie Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, so point being, you push them to strive for perfection, so they break the mold and become Charlie Parker. Which again, it's unconventional methods in getting there, but it's possibly.
I love the twisted logic later in the movie when Andrew asks him, like, okay, I get what you're trying to do with the Charlie Parker thing, but do you think that...
Is there a line?
Yeah, do you think that your methods might have pushed away a potential Charlie Parker? And he's so like gung-ho with his answer. He's like, no, man, no. Like, because if
Charlie Parker doesn't give up,
he wouldn't have given up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I love that conviction.
And during that scene, that's basically him, one could argue, is him talking to Andrew, knowing Andrew gave up music.
Exactly. And of course, that whole scene is like, we'll lay it out later.
Oh,
but that whole scene is essentially Fletcher like weaving a trap.
Yep.
Pulling an Akbar.
Or is he?
It's a good question.
I think there's an actual argument for it. We'll get there.
No, I hear you.
Okay, anyway. So here's someone no one ever talks about Whiplash. I want to talk about somebody. Okay? No one, I promise you, you've never talked about this guy. We should talk about this guy. Okay?
Oh dear, okay.
Mr. Kramer.
Mr. Kramer. The music teacher from the original class that Neiman's in, that guy.
One, did you recognize who he is from our circle?
I can't say I did now.
You're gonna kick yourself when I tell you.
Okay.
It's Damon Gumpton.
Yeah, tell me who that is. I'm sorry.
Bates Motel. He's Norman's therapist in Bates Motel.
Okay, well, to be fair, Dragon, that was a while ago, all right? Like,
we're talking about a movie from 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know, and I'm saying I haven't done a Bates Motel rewatch in a minute, all right? So I'm sorry. But yeah, that's funny.
Okay. Anyway, the point of Mr. Kramer. Again, I look at Mr. Kramer, he's like the safe, nice guy version of Fletcher, of the music teacher. He's like, this is what it should be like, or at least traditionally what it is like. And
I honestly feel like the best teaching kind of lies somewhere in the middle, in my philosophy. Like, you don't just want a guy who's going through the motions. And honestly, I kind of feel like this guy is sort of going through the motions. Like, Dragon, I vividly remember in college, I had a history class where the guy literally would just rattle off PowerPoint presentations in the most dry, monotone way possible. I dropped that class after like 3 classes because I'm like, dude, you are not engaged with what you're teaching. You are literally just reading from a script. So it's interesting. I truly feel like this movie could be like an examination just on teaching. Like, what is the line? The line is certainly like Fletcher certainly goes over the line, but I don't know. I kind of feel like there's some merit to kind of like skirting the line a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, no, I'm with you in that terms. Of this guy is the safest option. Basically, Mr. Kramer and Jim are very much they're in the school of thought of like good enough. They're the good enough path, you know. Right?
They're
That's good
probably
enough.
teacher buddies.
Yeah, probably.
That's like the movie going on in the background that we don't see. Just him and this guy and Jim just playing golf together on the weekends.
Yep, there's this movie. It didn't do well in the box office. It's a movie called Teacher Buddies, where basically they just there's
Yes,
no
Dragon, yes.
conflict. They're just buddies. They like, oh wait, you're a teacher, so am I. Hey, you want some
You'll
coffee?
never believe the shenanigans my son's up to.
Is it the best coffee? No. Are we gonna make better coffee? No, we're just gonna settle for this. Okay.
Oh
Do
my
you
God.
like golf? I've dabbled in golf. Let's learn how to golf together. Okay.
Sounds delightful.
Exactly. You know, it was a modest film. It didn't underperform, didn't overperform either. It was just right down
Can
the
you
middle.
imagine if we got to a point in Hollywood where the over franchising got so cynical that that movie actually became a valid thing? Like, shit, we need to do Whiplash, but we don't want to just remake. Let's see what characters are in Whiplash. Let's see. Well, there's the other teacher, and then Andrew's dad is also a teacher. Okay.
No, we want the
something with
PC
that.
version. We want the PC version of Whiplash. We're gonna call it Easy Going Good Time.
All right.
We're gonna call it Neck Alignment. That's what we're gonna call the movie anyway.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, anyway, so boy, it's one of the highlights. Shout out Mr. Cream, mainly because again he is our Basement of Motel alumni.
Sure.
All right, Andrew's first day in class. This is where we get into the short film of it all.
Indeed.
So,
Also,
by the way,
where a lot of the material from the Weird Al parody comes from.
well, yeah, I mean, come on, the Weird Al parody is barely a parody, but you know,
It's great though.
it is. I'm just saying, yes, but it's barely. Come on, it's barely anything. It's good though, yeah, but you know, it's.
You know what my favorite part of that parody is?
I'm surprised J.K. Simmons they didn't actually ask J.K. Simmons for that one because he loves.
You know what? I had this same argument with Eli earlier today, and my argument is I actually think it's funnier that Al is just reacting to the stock footage.
Look, it works and it's fun. It just feels like we know for a fact J.K. Simmons loves playing this guy. You know, he would have easily done the short being. You know, come on.
I would totally be down with J.K. Simmons reprising this role for like Saturday Night Live.
Well, he did that.
Amazing.
He did that.
Did he?
Yeah.
I need to look that up.
It was It was just the opening. It's not like a full skit, but he did the opening.
I'm sure I've seen that. But you know what my favorite part of the Weird Al thing is?
What?
The blood on the accordion keys.
Oh yeah, no, that was a good. That was...
All right. Anyways.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So basically, we're kind of doing the short here. You know, it's the strongest scene or sequence in the film. Still, I love the. I mean,
there's a reason why they chose that in particular to make into the short. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If that short and this sequence didn't sell in the movie's tank, the movie's done for. There's no movie.
Could you imagine if, like, shit? What do we do to film the short? Let's see. Let's take the awkward as fuck date that Andrew and the love interest have. Let's do that as a short.
Yeah, we don't have J.K. Simmons yet, so we're just going to talk about him. We're just going to talk about. Oh yeah, you know, there's a music teacher, and how is the pizza good? Right, New York pizza, yeah.
I mean, I want to. Before I say this, I want to just acknowledge I do genuinely like this line. I think it's one of the few lines Andrew has that's actually endearing. But my dad and I still go to the movies with my dad. Anyways, all right.
Okay, so the other thing too is the fact that Fletcher's already playing mind games with him from the get-go. Aside from the whole coat,
right, literally right from the very beginning, and. I think this is one of the. I truly think this movie should have won Best Original Screenplay as well. I believe Birdman won that year, which there, I guess. I love Birdman. I don't think the writing is the strongest.
Well, Tiki, that movie made you believe that Michael Keaton could fly.
Sure, Dragon, sure. No, but just think about this. Like, what we have in the scene where Fletcher is basically like getting all this information out of Neiman. Dragon, it's essentially an exposition dump, but it is like literally like one of the most economic, like you do not notice it as an exposition dump because J.K. Simmons, just like the performance, he's kind of luring Andrew into a false sense of security. You know what's up with this character. You know he's probably going to turn the tables. But B, it's also just obviously this information that he's getting is just going to be immediately used against him. So I just love the economy of that.
Well, think about this. One, he's already playing mind games with him in the sense of he told him 6 a.m. and
yup.
That was the big one. Like apparently everyone shows up at 9. Secondly, it was this. It's the fact that when he says, "Are there any musicians in the family?" Then we get the backstory. Then he doesn't care about it. Seemingly, he doesn't care about this. So no musicians. Then that's his response to that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, he's got tunnel vision for the music thing, and again, he is going to absolutely weaponize what he's just learned in his kind of his early Ermy-esque kind of teardowns.
Oh man, that's a really good comparison. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Full Metal Jacket. Yeah.
Sure.
That's the original. That's the original Fletch.
That's the original bald man screaming.
Yeah. Anyway, and also he's screaming at a future bald man who will be screaming with D'Onofrio.
Yes, true.
You embarrassed me in front of her.
Just so basically, what we're saying is that it's just like a whole line of just
it's a vicious cycle.
Bald men.
Larry David's in there.
Is Tuki involved in this somehow, Dragon?
Well, I mean, there's Larry David's in there somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, anyway, so let's see. So this is a lot of great stuff to unpack here. So Andrew at the beginning here too with his arc, he's very earnest and he's a squeaker. He's green, he's earnest. Like, can you hit the beat? Can you give me a B flat, please? As he's trying to tune the drums.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, later on he's going to get really cocky. Let's see. So we have the titular song with Whiplash, and we have honestly one of my favorite parts of him before we get to the big, the big teardown with Andrew. I love the musical interrogation. I love everything about this moment. I love the fact that again he's so musically adept that he can just stop it. And he's basically searching through the room.
I honestly think this is my favorite singular moment in the whole movie. I think it just shows everything you need to know about Fletcher as a character. It's also got a couple of it's got a couple of my favorite Fletcherisms, and they come right after another. And I've already quoted them. The whole "Tell me it's you, it's not you, Elmer Fudd," and then what are you looking at? There's no Mars bar down there. It's like it's not a Snickers, it's not a Hershey bar, it's specifically a Mars bar. I love how specific that is.
Apparently Weird Al does in fact have down there.
Yes. Mystery solved.
Yep. It's got low blood sugar, that Weird Al.
But no, seriously, I totally agree. I think that this is the moment where if it was just like impossible to take your eyes off the screen before, it's like your eyes are just going to be glued to the screen now every time this dude's on screen because
again, it was just so
So
what's just so brilliant about this too is the fact that he does this is basically. And here's the question: you have to wonder how focused he is on Andrew at this point in the movie because this is before he had his like one-on-one scene, but he did bring him there. He did call out there's a squeaker in the room, so he already is kind of noting that Andrew is there. Now you have to wonder is the
I basically think he does it. I honestly don't really think because as he says, like with the whole resolution to this thing is like. He didn't know, and that's just as bad. I don't really think it matters all that much to him. I think what this display is directly doing is just essentially a flex on Andrew. Like, look how much power I have. Look how much knowledge I have. You are not going to be able to bullshit me. I will call out your shit. Like, I truly think it's all a show for Andrew.
Because that's the thing. So when you break it down, okay, so he walks down that hallway, even though he's playing it differently. Even though he's making him think otherwise, he sees potential in this. He sees Charlie Parker potential in the kid. He's not letting him on to that. Then he just kind of plucks him out from the other class, puts him in there. He's already playing mind games by telling him to show up early. He's playing with his expectations, and he's pretty much Willy Wonking the kid here. He's just showing him the whole, he's walking down with the cane, and then he told him, I don't need that cane at all,
What
in
do
terms
you
of
give the man who has everything, Neiman?
give him a Mars bar. I'm the candy man, mother effer. Anyway, but that's the thing. He's basically showing like, I could. He's basically giving a hint of what's to come, but then he's gonna kind of diffuse it, and then he's gonna actually hit him with it. You thought wasn't gonna do that to you, but that's the thing. So he tears down Metz here. Poor Elmer Fudd. He tears him down.
By the way, I'm pretty sure this is the same actor in the short film too.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, which is great.
So he tears down Metz. Sends him out of the room in tears as like a warning of like here's what most likely awaits you. And they says he wasn't even out of tune. That's the hilarious. That's the darkly hilarious part. He wasn't even out of tune, but not knowing is even worse.
Dragon, let me just tell you right now, the brief time that I did try and learn guitar and bass, tuning was absolutely my Achilles heel when it comes to instruments. Tuning requires so much work, and I just do not have the ear for it. Like, it's such a pain in the ass every time you want to practice. You got to get it into it's. Yeah, that was one of the big detriments to my.
I felt so bad for this kid when he just said, just play, and you can see like the trembling. He's not going to get a good performance if he does play that. If he plays that thing.
Mm-hmm. But not because he's out of tune, just because he's totally psyched out.
Yeah, because he's terrified. As
Right,
any movie,
right.
like, yeah, I was thinking about you in this scene. You would have crumbled like what toilet
Dragon,
paper?
obviously, Dragon. If I would literally die in the presence of Terrence Fletcher. Like, let's not mix words.
With a look, he doesn't have to say anything to you.
I wouldn't even have to be the victim of him. Just being in the same room with him when he's chewing out someone else would literally kill me.
You just would have like fainted in that scene. Anyway, man. So a point of that. Here's the thing. So after all that thing, he says, "Oh, Neiman, you're up after the break." Like that's what's brilliant to me right there. Just the whole this horrible thing happens. Oh yeah, Neiman, you're up next. So then they dissuades him and everything. But again, there's that really there's that disarming charm of Fletcher here, where he kind of lulls him in the false sense of security. And we see it later on too. We have like the dichotomy where little girl, like I don't know if it's like one of the members of the whoever the gig that they're playing at. They have like this guy with a kid, and we have these probably. I don't think he's a former band member. I think he's like a guy who runs like a conservatory or something.
Right, yeah.
One of the judges, not the judge of the competition, but someone hosting the competition. Anyways, he's really again J.K. Simmons showing that charm there with. Like the little girl says, "Hey, you give me 5." When you're old, you want to play piano.
I haven't seen you since you were this tall.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, just true sociopath, honestly.
And then he walks in. He says he's foul mouthed and everything to the rest of the band. Like that. That's what I'm saying. There's the dichotomy there, and again, it's the fact that we see Andrew just kind of like he's a little more at ease, thinking, okay, well, he's putting the work, he's not overthinking it, which again may or may not be a huge mistake. Again, per the it's like a no one. It's Kobayashi Maru of music here. It's going on. There's no winning in this situation. So then we again like Fletcher's kind of building to it. He's nice and friendly. Nope, that's okay. He's doing the claps. And he's like, just give it a second. Not quite my tempo. Then, of course, like as he's doing for like the umpteenth time, he's like rushing, dragging. Then he throws the chair at him after mentioning the whole Joe Jones and Charlie Parker symbol toss.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's him. In a sense, that's him giving him a tip off, but also arming him like spelling it out without spelling it out. This is what I'm going to put you through. If you can endure it, you will be Charlie Parker. But I'm going to be the most abusive Yoda you've ever seen.
Right, yeah.
It's like the deleted scenes in Empire Strikes Back. Yoda's just like hitting Luke in the head with the stick, just like better do it. Anyway, so then just Miles Teller, dear God, just seeing him just be put through and like the 1, 2, 3, 4 and keeps getting slapped. Was I rushing or was I? So you do know the difference,
thing, man. That honestly, the slap. Rewatching this movie, the slap is honestly the most upsetting thing that Fletcher ever does to Neiman. I think it is just straight abusive, just straight physically abusive. And just the fact that Neiman just takes it. It's very upsetting.
Somebody does throw a chair at him too.
No, I understand that, but I honestly feel like the chair thing is kind of like that kind of goes more into like the what Giselle was aiming at with like, like you would never like in real life, the second a teacher does this, I don't care how much tenure he has, he's out of there. His ass is grass, But the slap thing, man, I don't know. For some reason, I get this pit in my stomach feeling that this shit has actually gone down. And
go
ahead.
Well, here's the thing with the chair throw and that, and just in general, like like the whole like real life versus just kind of like how this would go, like the pushed version of reality here. There's also like an element of like this is musical Fight Club. Everyone wants. We want like the best conductor ever, so we're not going to say if he's treating us like dog food. We're not going to,
Right, yeah.
That's the thing. It's musical Fight Club.
So Tyler Durden stole the folder.
Exactly. No. Here's the thing. Here's what's happening. Okay, so when they're playing the music, Tyler Durden's there, and he's basically he's playing musical chairs.
Oh God!
By himself though, which is even more eerie.
So when you say by himself, you just mean it's literally just nothing.
Yeah.
It's literally just a non-entity.
Yeah.
Just an empty chair.
Yeah.
Ways.
Yep. Anyway, so so then we have the whole like I'm upset. Yep. Oh, but when he tosses that chair at him, he says, "Why do you think I just threw a chair at your head?" It did remind me a little bit of that scene from Anger Management.
Yes, definitely.
That hilarious scene from Anger Management, not the show, the movie, kids.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Throws the I said over easy. Now why'd I do that, Dave? Because I refused the spoon with you last night. Anyway, Nicholson aside. Let's see. So we have the Nicole. So Nicole, nice girl, sweet girl, super girl. In fact,
Nicole is absolutely like a Norman Bates Paddington nice girl. Absolutely.
Again, she's better than a nice girl, Tiki. She's a super girl.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
She's not just a nice girl, Mother. She's a super girl.
Yes.
She flies and she likes ice cream.
Oh man! All right.
Anyway, so they met at the. I really like how they met at the movies, which again is a representation of Dad. Where essentially we saw them at the movie in the beginning. She sold him the concessions. They're doing like the Raisinets and the popcorn thing.
Mm-hmm.
You want to overanalyze everything. Again, his father. He allows his father to do that, even though he eats around the Raisinets, which is basically symbolic of, he's doing things to appease his father, but he wants to go his own way.
Sure. What's your take on the eating around the Raisinets thing, Dragon? Do you think it's sacrilege? Do you think Raisinets and the popcorn is sacrilege? These are the important questions our audience wants to know.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I really don't like popcorn personally.
Really? I never knew that about you.
Oh, yeah. I detest it.
Really? That's interesting.
I appreciate the institution of it. I do not. I don't want anything to do with it though.
Huh. Okay.
I love the commemorative popcorn buckets. I wish they were filled with something else. I wish but regardless, that said, I would say, probably not. The idea of mixing stuff into the popcorn does sound like sacrilege to me. But mind you, that I can't say that with autonomy, having tried it.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't try it. I won't do it.
M&M's works pretty well. I have tried.
I know people have done the Milk Duds though.
Milk Duds are good. Yeah. Although the problem with Milk Duds is that, like, you can't exactly like crunch into Milk Duds the same way you can M&M's. That's why I think M&M's are the ideal one if you are going to do it. All right. Anyways.
All right. Anyway, so again, Nicole kind of combined with the with the dinner table conversation, where so how do you feel about the Neiman clan, the Neiman family?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I feel like my sympathies do go out to Andrew because I feel like the movie does a really good job of just illustrating, like, yeah, this kid is definitely a fish out of water in this family. Like, and I've been there too. Like the whole the whole side of my family on my aunt's side is they're a bunch of military brats, right? And I use that term not like disparagingly, but you know the military brat term.
Well, Veterans Day, Tiki, show some respect, would you?
Right. But no, but I'm just saying they are kind of like, you know, they're into football every Sunday and shit like that. And like, actually, this just happened like just this past week where my aunt very, very nicely, just the most pleasant thing in there. She's like, you know, you're welcome to come over to our house for Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh my God, I hate to say no, but like, I literally told her like all I would do is just sit in the corner and play on my phone the whole time. I'm sorry, you know, I had to be straight up with her.
Now, here's what you say. You gotta lovingly say no. Just like, you know, that's really nice. I thank you for the invitation. I don't want to go,
right?
Like at all. I really that doesn't sound like fun to me at all. But that's a really nice.
That's pretty much how I handled it.
That's a really nice gesture, though. Thank you. But yeah, I don't want any part of that.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I actually think basically anything to do with Andrew's family, I think, and Andrew's personal life in general, outside of just like obviously him just totally fumbling the ball with Nicole, which we'll get to. But I truly think those are the moments where he's the most endearing as a character, and I feel like that's very intentional. It's the moments where the rare moments in the movie where he is not focused on the drumming, which obviously, as the movie goes on, focus on the drumming is going to be a pivotal part of his character, and he is not going to want to do anything but that.
Yep. I mean, here's the thing with the family is they seem to be.
What the hell is wrong with you? We're a family.
All right. No, but they don't quite. You know, again, they don't. They're all very much, you know, they're valuing sports over the arts. It very much feels like. And again, I just don't. I don't mention it briefly earlier.
Like every time that snide motherfucker is like, you think this is easy, Andrew? Why don't you try out for the football team? I just want to slap that guy in the face, Dragon. Just right in the face. Just like Fletcher. Just right in the face. Are you Russian or are you Dragon, motherfucker?
Yep, there you go. And that's the thing. I mean, here's the thing. I am with you. I identify with Andrew, and I understand Andrew. Here's the thing. The way they shot that scene, you feel like the biting. Just it's like, okay, he's seen as lower status because, oh yeah, how's your drumming going? You know, it's just like the drumming versus like scholarships and varsities and God, you know, whatever.
Uh-huh.
But again, you know, he's doing something, you know, kind of, you know, he's channeling like a talent into something, though. And the father has his back. By the same token, Andrew bumping back up against it, though, and he's like the whole Division I thing and whatnot. He gets into it with him. The father kind of makes an active choice to let Andrew hang himself with the rope, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's understandably frustrating, and I get it, you know. But that's the thing. So you definitely see Andrew again. But plus, they're bringing up when they really dig their heels in the hole. Do you have any friends, Andrew? Yeah.
Right.
That whole thing. It's like, yeah, he's there's a loneliness there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, Andrew, he's after the initial humiliation of I'm upset. He's putting literal blood and sweat into practice here, which, by the way, visually we show very well with like the sweat and the blood on the sticks and like the horrible scabbing and like, oh god, the scabbing is so visceral in this film.
I mean, that's one thing. Like, even the very limited amount of time that I did practice with Bass Dragon, blisters on the fingers. That's no joke. That's not just a Beatles reference. It's real, man.
Yeah. Do you think piano players get blisters too?
I imagine so.
I would like to think so. Anyway, but yeah, that's the thing. It's like, again, you're seeing the effort that he's putting into the craft, and we're also setting up just like, oh god, how haggard is this kid gonna get? And yeah, he's gonna be drenched and bloodied, and it's a nasty sight.
I think the shot, the image of the bloody drumsticks, I think just besides beyond J.K. Simmons, like beautiful bald head screaming at Miles Teller. Just the shot of the bloody drumsticks, I think, is the most iconic element to this whole movie, just from a visual point of view.
And all of this being Fletcher's goal is that trauma will motivate self-improvement, hence what he did on like day one to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, it's like we have that dichotomy here where again he's so nice one instance, and then he's just he's just scathing the other instance, and then we have the big moment of change for Andrew's situation, the missing folder crisis.
Oh, here we go, Dragon. All right, so yeah, this is absolutely like the big like Reddit unsolved mystery of the movie. It's just like, okay, who did take the photo? Who did take the photo? I'm sorry, who did take the folder?
Smile.
Dragon, it's got to be Fletcher, right? It can't be anyone but Fletcher. Are you on the same page?
I think it has to be Fletcher. And here's the question: okay, does Fletcher do it just because it's a folder like sitting out in the open, like just casually sees a folder?
No. I think much like everything else in the movie that Fletcher does, he is very deliberately doing it as a test for Andrew. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that we were talking about with with the interrogation with the out of tune player. I feel like if Andrew wasn't in the room, he might not have even made an issue out of it, right?
Yeah. That's the thing. You do have to question: are things turned up extra because Andrew is in the room versus because the rest of the class, they seem on the ball, but it does make you wonder: like, are they used to him yelling like this, or are they also stressed out by it? You have to wonder. Mm-hmm. Like, does this a thing that happens like with the class period, or is this a thing that happens when he has like when he seeks like a Charlie Parker, who again previously was Sean?
Oh boy, yeah.
So that's the thing. Do you think it's like only when we have like a Sean come in, or is this like a 24/7 kind of thing with this band?
It's got to be a 24/7 thing. I don't know. I feel like
we don't know. That's the thing.
It's probably like varying degrees, though, right?
Yeah.
Like honestly, I would probably, if I were a student in this class, I would probably be like, okay, this guy's always intense, but like when he gets to like chair throwing levels of intense, yeah, he's headhunting for a Charlie Parker.
It has to be. Well, I think you're right. I think it has to be that because again, the blue language that he uses, all the time. That there'd be more visceral reaction if he just like did that in it's like only in certain specific examples.
Sure.
Like it has to be like they were used to that, like beratement. It's drill instructor talk.
Right.
So with the missing folder, I'm with you. I do think I absolutely think Fletcher swiped it because we set up that he said, like, if I see any of these folders laying around, if I hear basically the whole like lost folders thing, you can't just leave them laying around. It's a teachable moment for like you're responsible for your own stuff there, which it's like that it does the burden does fall on Tanner. Now that's a thing you can look at as it's a teachable moment just for everyone by a Tanner, or I think more accurately, he wants to give Andrew his shot, but it's also a teachable moment. You better stay on the ball, kid, or else you're gonna end up like Tanner.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think he gives him his shot. And it's also like a moment of like the way he plays that moment of like, like I can play it. Whiplash by heart. Yeah, that's kind of like the moment of like, okay, let's see if all your practice paid off. You should know it by heart. Tanner does not.
Sure.
All right. So, anyways, that's becomes a core drummer. Again, by destiny or by Fletcher tipping the scales, you be the judge. But we have we have the Connolly curveball.
Rolls off the tongue, but yeah, indeed. And can we just acknowledge this actor is like the most Irish looking actor I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, with a name like Connolly, I mean.
No, I'm just saying he was well cast. This is the
you actually do look a little like a leprechaun.
Yeah. God. But yeah, I mean, once again, Dragon, and Fletcher just full on, like, we don't even need to, like, this is just text. It's not subtext. Fletcher just full on admits, like, yeah, I threw Connolly in as motivation for you.
But then again, when he says that later, though, is that a manipulation? Is he saying that,
True.
That's
God,
the thing.
I love this movie.
Okay, that's the thing. Though I'm with you. I think that's the truth. Just with him admitting, oh yeah, it was it's Connolly was there. Then again,
Because let's face it, Dragon, Connolly's a dope, right?
that's the thing. Why would he put Connolly through? Because that's the whole thing. We see him like instantly. Like, he's not giving Connolly a hard time at all with the song that Connolly was able to read beforehand.
Uh-huh.
You know, I guess using Connolly as a tactic to humble Andrew and motivate him, which again seems to be. It's kind of like here's kind of a random example. It's like the whole purpose behind Jackie Chun in Dragon Ball. The idea being Master Roshi in Dragon Ball, he basically wanted to give Goku like the foe that he can't beat to keep him trying to get better and train. Not just he would get complacent if he actually won the World Martial Arts tournament. That
Right. That's a good
So
analogy.
Connolly is kind of like a device like that of like, okay, Connolly's a guy who's seemingly untalented, just walked in, just did it easily, and he is he's your better already when you think you're on top because he knows Andrew's going to get cocky and kind of feeling good about himself. He needs to strive to be better and better and keep training, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what that does in doing so is that that causes Andrew to overcorrect himself because he gets a little cocky when he says like, "Hey, I earned that spot," and he says like you want the part, go earn it. Andrew is breaking up with his girlfriend. He's to push his limits, and he breaks up with her so clinically. So again, this is affecting his life outside of music, which I don't think Fletcher necessarily intended. But again, he's not losing sleep over it.
Sure.
So with the breakup, I mean, I love how chillingly clinical it is, where he just says, "Yeah, this will happen. You're going to resent me, and let's just cut through
it." Exactly.
So, importantly, Fletcher gets a call about Sean Casey, and he is visibly upset by this, and he says, "You want the part, earn it." Or to put in our own...
That phone call is essentially like the God bleeds moment of the movie.
Yes, and even so, think about it, Tiki. He gets that information, and the next day in class, he lies about that information. He says he died in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say it was a hanging. Doesn't say it was a
Oh yeah,
suicide.
right,
Even he
right,
says
yeah.
it was a car accident. Of course, very apropos, foreshadows what happens. This again, this whole thing of like Sean Casey. He was basically saying that he basically found him like exactly how he found Andrew. And again, you have to wonder. I would attest that the only reason he does that in class is for Andrew's benefit. I don't think he does that for the class. I don't think he does that for the memory of the kid. I think that you have to wonder. Is he doing that out of guilt, or is he doing that out of purely like he's giving Andrew like some more motive there about what it's all for?
I don't know.
Or is it a bit of both?
Might be reading into it a little, but again, as we established, it's not like this movie doesn't warrant looking into. It's clearly what the movie's going for. But I don't know. I mean, on some level, we kind of already established that this dude's a sociopath, but like, people have their limits, right? He can't be that much of a sociopath. I don't know. What do you think?
I really think it's a combination of both. I think he is guilty. I think we saw like a genuine reaction when he got the phone call, okay? And he did want to pay tribute to him, but again, he very deliberately isn't saying that he committed suicide. So that is a manipulation any way you slice it. And again, I have to wonder if, again, the reason for him not saying it's a suicide is, again, to motivate broadly the class, but I think specifically Andrew. So I don't think it's entirely like using the death of this kid to motivate Andrew, but I think it is. I don't know. I think he did have fondness for this kid, and he is trying to show him like I don't know. It's kind of hard to say 100% if he is just like doing this out of guilt and trying to make the death worth something to kind of justify it to himself. I'm not pushing these kids to the brink. I am pushing them towards something great, and I want to celebrate the good that this kid did do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it makes any sense in the way I phrased it, but I don't know.
I feel you.
Again, he is lying about something which is shady, but again, he's not like besmirching the kid's name per se. He is hiding his. He is covering up his own guilt, though. He's covering up, like, he's not acknowledged. Again, God bleeds, but like, God's not looking for a Band-Aid.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
That's the thing, he ain't looking for a band-aid. He says, "What is that sauce from lunch? Shut up."
Right. Right.
Now get on my time.
Oh God.
All right, let's see. So, the trio of drummers. So yeah, I think even after this, he's then pushing these guys. You have Neiman, Connolly, and Tanner in like this drum off here, and this is where the faster scene. He just keeps yelling at Andrew faster and faster, and then we see him bleeding right there in front of him, and he's just kicking away the drums.
Mhm.
And again, like there's something so tactile there. You feel him speeding up and trying to keep up that pace, and it's so inhuman. And by
And
the
you
end of it,
also just feel the drain of the night. Like I don't know about you, but I have definitely been in situations like, obviously, again, not this extreme, but situations where the teacher will hold the class for like way longer than the scheduled end of class, and you can't leave because your grade fucking depends on it, right? And it's just kind of that feeling of being trapped there. Like, and honestly, in this certain situation, I kind of, obviously I'm sympathetic more towards the people in the room, but like in the back of my head throughout this whole scene, I'm also like, he's got a whole classroom full of people who are just waiting this whole thing out, right? And that kind of adds to my anxiety about the whole situation.
oh yeah. Again, just also, I mean, too, we've seen the training. We had like the sink full of ice, and he puts his hand in it. It just like turns completely red. Like, dear God, like how sensitive I am to hands and fingers and stuff. So
For
it's
sure.
like every time I
That
watch
gets me too. Yeah.
every time I watch this movie, I see like the band-aid on his in the earlier training. He has like the band-aid on his hand. Like he's pushing it, and it just keeps bleeding. It's like, oh God, it's awful. This is like
Right.
this is like a scene out of Doctor Strange. God. Anyway, so then here's the thing: the kicker is after all this, okay, now we can begin. So he's got to do all that again without a break. God. All right, so justifiably, he's upset at the notion that he won't be
I'm
able to.
upset.
Yes. So we have then we get into my nightmare fuel beyond the hand stuff, which is okay. So we got this big performance coming up. Everybody be on time, and again, through no fault of his own. Like the bus, the bus is breaks down, but again, he left on time and everything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And just the fact that he's doing everything humanly possible that he can. He's getting like the rent a car and everything, and it's like, oh God, I feel for this kid so much.
Right.
What he's going for, the fact that you make a commitment, you're gonna be there. I've been in his shoes.
Exactly.
More so, here's that. Thank goodness I haven't been 100% in this. I mean, I've been ill, but I haven't been like this. Post car accident, that is my mentality. I gotta be that is me. Like if we had a podcast, I would be there hobbling.
God.
I felt when I've been sick, I have done that though. I have yes,
I know.
Anyway, I've done it loopy.
Oh God.
But I'm I'm like I'm cold water in the facing it.
I feel you.
Anyway, so so basically the danger of rushing, one could say. It's he's a little late to the gig. And he's pressing his luck with Fletcher. He's basically saying, look, he says, you need me
I
here.
mean, that's a good point. It is like one of the very few moments in the movie where he actually has the balls to stand up to him in a way.
Yep, and then Fletcher's points out the whole thing about like you better no borrowing anyone's sticks or anything, because now this is like karma for basically without saying it, for Fletcher giving him his break with the lucky break with the folder.
Right.
So now this is biting him in the end, where again he's saying it's just they're in the car, and he says no, they're in the car rental place. Oh God! So Andrew is in such a pickle here. You feel the palpable tension and the ticking clock, and then oh God, the car accident where he flips upside down.
The car accident's just freaking visceral, isn't it? I mean, it's
the fact that we're in the car when it happens too.
Right, yeah.
And again, just that hobble back and just the desperation to get there, and just you feel Andrew is pushed himself to his limits, all ready to be there, and then like Fletcher's starting to take away over like a few minute delay. And then we have this happen where, again, now justifiably, Fletcher kind of like, you have to wonder, Fletcher does noticeably see, like, he's banged up and everything. Do you think on some level there is sympathy when he says you're done, or do you think it's like a callous, like, you're done? Like, what do you think? Do you think that to me is the example of him going too far? Of like, okay, I should have pulled it back a little.
I don't know, Dragon. I think specifically because Andrew was actually standing up to him. I think it's like, okay, you know what? Like, you're late. You lost the notes. You gave me lip. You are fucking over. This is done. I don't. That's how I've always read it. Does that make sense?
No, that totally makes sense. I'm just saying I have to. I don't know. Like, part of me wonders that when he's saying you're done, if there's like just like seeing like him clocking that God, I may have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Far. Yeah, I mean, on some level, I could definitely see what you're
like
saying.
The one time he actually like he does the cathartic thing of like attacking Fletcher may not have been entirely warranted because Andrew did bring out some of this on himself.
Sure.
Where again he did get a little cocky. I mean, he stood up for himself, but again at the wrong time, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, so again, then very cathartically he tackles Fletcher, understandably so. After he put himself through all this, and only to have it taken away. And this guy kind of deserves a beating, frankly.
a little bit.
Anyway, so then we have the real world ramifications where it's Jim sticks up for his son. He wants to punish the guy who's been torturing his son.
Yeah, and this is where this last little stretch of the movie, I truly feel like, is where.
By the way, all the car accident was an hour into the movie, like exactly.
And it's pretty much exactly a 90-minute movie, right?
Yeah, no, yeah,